Hello, I'm Jeff Huey, and today we're going to talk about diving into Django. What is Django, you may say? Django is a Python-based web application framework. It's pretty powerful, and it's similar to Ruby on Rails, but I like Django better, but that's just my opinion. This is the first screencast that I've done, so forgive me for any things like ums and ams that I may say accidentally and mistakes I may make. But, it's a learning process, and that's fun. Also, another word of warning, I'm recording in a college dormitory, so there's going to be probably some cuts and edits and probably non-smooth transitions because I'd probably have to abruptly cut it at a certain point before, crazy kids run through the hallway screaming. I don't think you want to see that in the screencast. So, let's get started. The goal of this screencast is to create an extremely simple bug tracking system, or ticket management system, however you want to call it. Similar ones that you can find online would be like Bugzilla, Track, or Lighthouse, but ours is going to be really simple. It's not too complicated, and it's going to support very basic features that probably wouldn't make it very practical in normal everyday use, but it's a good starting point for our Django project. We're only going to support about 3 features, not too complex. Basic CRUD operations, which stands for create, read, update, and delete. So the user may want to add new tickets or edit current ones, etc. We're going to have an admin login, so not everyone would be able to add, delete random tickets on our site. And we're going to have a public viewing, so everyone, even without a login, can view all the tickets and their statuses and who's working on them, etc. So we have to install a couple things first. If you haven't already, you install Python, but don't install Python 3 because the current libraries, PySQLite that we're going to be using, and Django don't support Python 3 yet because Python 3 has some backward-breaking compatibility issues, which the library should be addressing soon. But for now, stick with Python 2.6, 2.5. I'm using 2.52. It all works. And you can go visit the site and click downloads and just go download it there. PySQLite, you just go there. There's a Windows build, or you can download via source and build it there. And Django projects, just go to djangoproject.com and download it. If you're planning not to use PySQLite, though, check the Django documentation, and they'll point you to correct file libraries to download for MySQL or the other database libraries. So in order to install Django, though, go to Django project, open that, go to downloads, download the latest official version. Ooh, that was fast. Go to open our command line, go change directory to the download section, and then run the command that they list. If you're using Windows, like non-Cygwin, just extract the file, the .rtg using WinRAR, 7z, or WinZip. And once it finishes extracting, you just change the directory into the Django directory. And then you run Python setup.py install for Windows-based systems. If you're using Linux or OS X, you might need to use sudo to make it official. And then after a few more seconds, our install is official. And then to confirm, to make sure that we actually have it installed, do Django admin.py, and it gives us a little message. For Windows, if you're using the command prompt, you'll need to change the path variable. So in case My Computer Properties, Advanced System Settings in Vista, which is the system properties, and Windows XP, environmental variables, and under system variables, there should be a path variable. If you edit it, make sure you add this to the end, c:/python25/scripts. This is basically your Python install directory and scripts, where Django admin.py is located. And once you do that, you're all set. That's it. Django follows the MVC design principle. I'm not going to really talk about it much. In order to read up more information, you should Google it or check Django's documentation. But Django calls it a little bit different if you've heard of it, MVC before. They call it MTV, but it's the exact same thing, just a different name. But to point out right now, a Django view is an MVC controller. And a Django template is an MVC view. So people might get confused between the MVC view and the Django view, but they're not the same. Just to point that out right now. Django has another design principle: applications and projects. Projects represent a specific site, so your website or your web application, whereas applications represent a specific feature, such as tagging, blog entries, or commenting. This separation makes Django very powerful, more powerful than most other frameworks I've seen, since features can be separated from their projects. So if you implemented a feature already and you're starting a new project and you want to have that same feature, such as tagging, you could simply copy and paste the application over and make a little bit of tweaks here and there, and your entire feature is working for your new project, which is really helpful. Cuts down on time so much. And now we're ready to get started. Okay, so we're going to open our Sigma shell. We're going to cd into our desktop tutorial directories, and we're going to use Django admin.py to start a project. We'll call it simple tickets. Why not? Yeah, I don't know. Nothing better to name it as. I'll cd into simple tickets, and we have a directory listing. So we have init.py, which just tells Python that this is a package or library, and manage.py, which is all our command lines related to this project. We have settings.py, which contains our project settings like database and time zone and application settings, etc. We have urls.py, which is a mapping for URLs to view functions, pretty much. We're going to go ahead and edit our settings.py, put our database information here. So we're going to have SQLite3. We're going to just put a random database name. I don't know, DB, I guess that works. Time zone, I'll change mine to New York because I'm near New York. And we want to have a template directly. But in order to have it relative, since they wanted absolute paths only, we'll use a little script here. We'll create a little function here in the beginning. First, we'll import the OS, we call it relative, accept any number of parameters, and we'll return os.path. We'll get a joined path of the current working directory, and then whatever we want it to field. So then if we do relative templates, it will be in the project templates directory, which is pretty handy. And just because I like doing it like this, just my gripe, I'm going to change admin to the folder, a subfolder in the media directory, and the min media into a subfolder, and I'll have a media directory too. And the media root will be relative to the media folder. There we go. And I think we're good. We're all set. And right here, we're going to add the automatic admin interface that Django has, which is pretty handy in these cases. And we're going to add ticket, which is going to be the application name that we're going to have, or our app. So over here, back here, we're going to do another Django admin.py start app. We'll call it ticket. And it creates it, and then we have a directory listing called ticket. We can go in there, and there's file for your models, file for unit testing, file for views, and package. So we're all set. Now we're going to edit models.py, and now we're going to put in some model code. Just jump right into it. So we're going to first import the Django.contrib auth.models, which is a Django provided user model, which provides basic user authentication for us. Pretty handy. And so we're going to do class ticket, which is a subclass of a model class. And we're going to have assigned to, which equals models, which is a foreign key to the user model as a one-to-one relationship. Well, many-to-one or one-to-one, doesn't matter. It belongs to. And we'll make sure that it can be empty, both in the database and in the admin interface. And now we're going to have status, which is going to be just a char field, character field, with a max length of 20, and it has a choice set. We'll fill that out in a second. Defaults to new. Now we're going to have create a two-dimensional tuple or array, however you want to call it, and it's going to be constant, so it doesn't really matter. And each one's going to be new and new. The first one represents the way it's going to be stored in the database, and the second one represents the way it's going to be displayed visually. So we're just going to do accepted. Assigned, and then we're going to do reopened, and closed. Well, that'll be good for now. And then we're going to put the choices right here. Ticket status choices. Okay, we're good. Next, we're going to have a description. It's going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be a text field. Nothing too fancy there. We're going to have a created on, which is a date time field. And it's going to be the text for the date created on field is going to be date created. So it looks like date created instead of created underscore on, or more like created on, because Python Django automatically put a space where underscore is. And we'll do auto now add equals true, which will make the date, which will set the date time equals the current time whenever a new ticket is created, which is the exact functionality we want. We'll do updated on, and we'll do another date time field, and we'll call it date updated. And we'll do it auto now, which means it's going to be whenever the ticket's saved, it's going to update it with the current date time. We're also going to have a name function, which will simply return the first line of the description of whatever the user typed for the description, whatever the first line was. So we'll just keep it simple, just the first line. That's what this does. Splits it by new line only one time, gets the first element, so we're good. Now we're going to do we're going to create the ticket admin class, which is the front end for the admin interface. So we got to get the admin interface subclass model admin. Actually, I think this is admin. We have to import it. So from Django.contrib import admin. Okay, so we have the admin interface. We pass nothing, I guess, for now. We just want to get a preview first. So admin, but we do want this registered. So register ticket model to the ticket admin model. Now, if we go back here, we want to first register all our databases, since we actually haven't created the database yet. And it'll create it. Yes, we want to create a new user, Jeff. I don't know, a little promo. And a super secret password. Finish creating it, and we're good. So if we open Chrome, and then we go to localhost, oh wait, that shouldn't work. Not yet. We get, oops, that's because we forgot to edit urls.py. So we go edit urls.py, and we forgot to uncomment this, the admin comments. And once we do that, and we run the server, forgot to do that too, server. This is development server, which is pretty handy when you're programming stuff, because it automatically reloads. Just reload, getting found, because the admin subdirectory, and we don't have anything in the base directory. So we go to admin, we have a login interface, which is pretty nice. Login, and we can have tickets, which we can then add and remove. Hello world. Or we can do the world is a vampire. You get the point. Maybe add one more just for the hell of it. I am cool. Okay, we're good. You notice it's just this ticket object, not very fancy, so we'll change that now. So go back to our models, and we have our ticket admin. Let's change the blank class for something a little bit more useful, like having a date hierarchy, like a date hierarchy drill down, so they can choose where they want to kind of like get through their own dates if they so choose, and we'll do a drill down via the created on date and created on field. Then we'll have a list filter, which will have drill downs for statuses. Nothing special. Remember the comma, because otherwise I'll think it as just commas, not a tuple or array. We'll have a list display, and we'll display the name, ID, status, and assigned to. You may notice that we actually passed the name of the function. Django doesn't really care whether it's the name of the function or the field. It works either way. So you can have your own custom function that returns a static string, and that would still work. And we want a search field. I mean, searching is always nice. So search fields will have the description. We'll have an array description. The difference between this bracket and these is that these are basically arrays that can't be changed after they've been created, whereas these can. So anyway, if we go back to our admin interface and reload, voila, we have a very nice, very sexy interface, which is lists all the data we probably want. We can filter by status, filter by date, and we can even search. Let's search world. We have 2 hits, and all the nice stuff. But this is just the backend. So I guess we finished most of it. We have our backend interface with a login that can accept input and you can edit them. You can edit them, or you can delete them, or you can create new ones. It doesn't make a difference, which is pretty nice. But now we got to work on the public view. A bit more manual labor, I guess you could say. So in the application URLs.py, we're going to add the base. We're going to grab all the URLs we can and include ticket.url. Okay. This will allow us to load all the URLs in the ticket application, which makes it a lot more portable. So we go to our ticket application and create urls.py. And then, since I'm very forgetful, we're going to copy this and then go URL patterns equals patterns. So this will load any default URL and pass it over here. But if none of these match that we list here, it'll automatically go and try searching for the admin one, which is the last one on the list. So now we're going to use the URL function, which is slightly different than just an array, if you just want to know. But it's a little different because it accepts additional parameters, which we'll be talking about shortly. We'll have, let's see, we need to import some stuff. So we'll import some models of our own. We'll import the ticket model because we'll be using that. And we'll having a dictionary, which we'll be passing a query set, which is a ticket query, which will try to get all the objects, assuming we don't modify that, which we will. So if it's just the base directory with nothing else attached to it, we have object list. By the way, we're using the prefix namespace of Django views generic list detail. And then we will pass the dictionary and name it ticket list. We'll do something similar with the URL for detail, which will be parameter with an object, a parameter object called object ID that'll accept a digit or a number of digits, and that will be it. I'll pass it it will be called, we'll be using the object detail generic view info name.ticket detail. Now, what the hell I just typed? Well, let's go through. Since this URL maps URLs to specific views, Django actually provides default generic views, what they call it, which provides default repetitive behavior, basic CRUD operations. In this case, listing a list of objects and listing one particular object. And it's pretty handy, so we don't really have to write any view code ourselves. I mean, it's still there if you really want to write your own view code. Django still provides methods and functionality for hand tweaking your own views. But in this case, we're not doing anything fancy, so we could just use the generic views and save us a bunch of time. Now all we have to do is the templates. So we go back to, and then we have to make the template directory before I forget. Let's go back. We have to make two directories, so we'll have to make the templates directory. We'll have to make the media directory, because that's what we specified before. Media. And we'll have to create ticket directory, because this is what default generic views where they search for templates. They search for any template directory and they go for the model name and then the model name underscore whatever it's doing. In this case, listing and detail.html. So that's what we're going to have to create. But first, I want to import my media. So open ticket HTML. We have this stuff that we need to copy over for our media. And we want our media to be publicly available for our server to serve, but we only want it on the development server because Django's server isn't very fit for serving media itself. It's recommended to use Apache or Lighty or some other server or some other kind of server system to distribute your media files, because Django's method isn't very secure and it was only designed for development-based purposes. So we want to make sure it's only development-based purposes. Django conf import settings. If the setting says we are debug, oops. If the settings, that pie on top says debug equals true right here, debug equals true. If that equals true, then we will add new URL patterns. And the URL patterns will be, quite frankly, the media directory, and we will accept everything else, path, and we will use the Django built-in view called Django views static serve, and it'll accept the dictionary parameter of document root, which will be the media root. So settings.media root, and we're good. That's it. And now if we try to force feed, we get a media and then style.css, we can get our style sheet that was right over here, which is perfect. Now for templates, we're going to have a template, which is going to be a base template, like object-oriented programming. We're going to have a base template. And since I'm a lazy bum, I will quickly pop out HTML. So we're going to copy all this, put it in here, cut out the body, because this is generic for all the pages in our site. So we don't want the body, because that will change. But we do want to change this to simple ticket, I don't know, block title, end block. These are Django specific template language. This is not Python. Sorry to tell you, but it works, and it's pretty nice. Use percentage squiggly brackets to represent function calls, pretty much, and use double squiggly brackets for variable names. So in this case, Django provides us with a variable name called media URL, which media URL, which points to the media URL directory, and we're going to call the URL function, which does a URL lookup based on name. Go ticket list, and that's where our ticket listing will be. And we'll have an admin site. The admin site, quick link. And I'll just point to the admin since we don't have actual URL name for that. Oops. And we're going to have the content body, block content, and block, and we're good. Now we're going to create a template for the ticket listing model, ticket list.html, and then we're going to create, or we're just going to be lazy again, and then we're just going to pick it out again. So here's our list. We're not going to use the filter, screw that. We're going to use the table though. So we switch back, paste the table, and then we do extends base.html, because our directory tree always starts from the base of the templates directory, which in this case is right here. So base.html points to the base template directory. And then we're going to create our title. Block title is going to have view tickets for the title, and block, we're going to have a content block, which has a end block also, and we're going to have our content here. Now the generic view passes object list, which is a variable that contains an array of all the objects that it found that matches certain parameters. So we're doing a for loop. So for a ticket in object list, ticket can be any name you want. It's a variable that will be assigned the variable identifier. So whenever we need it, we can use ticket.id. And then we'll use the ticket name, ticket.name. And then we'll use ticket.status. And then we'll use ticket.assigned_to, which changed a priority to assigned to. More, I don't know, it matches it. So, and we'll change these URLs, we'll add these URLs to ticket detail, and we'll pass a ticket ID so that it knows which ticket we're talking about. And the URL will figure it out. URL ticket detail and ticket ID again, and that will map to this ticket. And this ticket basically, because the name is ticket detail, and it accepts one parameter of object ID, which is a number, and that's valid. So since we're passing a number to it. And now we're going to do ticket detail.html. And since I'm being lazy again, I shall copy over some HTML again. Not too much. Most of it we can't use in this tutorial. Okay, and then we do another extends base.html, block title, ticket number, and ticket ID. Block and block. There we go. And create another block for the content and block. And now we just have to change this because default generic views for details pass an object as the variable, which contains just one model object instance. In this case, our ticket. So we're just going to replace these because I already tried to guess. So we don't have a priority, so we can leave this blank. It won't do anything. And then we can finish this up. Object. And we're good. So if we go back to our site, go to the base URL, we have our site. It's fully working. You can click on one and get a preview. It's pretty nice. Yeah, I'm cooler than you. But anyway, sorry about that. The full site. I made it in record time, and it's a little rushed. Sorry about that, but it's working as to the goal that we met, and we're good. I hope you had a good time, and until next tutorial, perhaps, see ya.